All right, so I wanted to follow up on our last video and sort of talk a little bit more about the data resources here. So in our last video, we sort of showed how you can use the create record as well as the lookup a single record data resource and how you can bind those, work with those outputs in scripts, things like that. But I wanted to go ahead and talk a little bit more about them. So let's say that we have a situation where none of the out-of-the-box data resources really fit our use case. Say we need a specific output, or we need a script to run, or maybe a specific script include that we need to run. So then how would we go about doing that? Well, we'd probably want to go ahead and create a new data resource then in that case. So if you go ahead and open up the little modal window here again to add a data resource to the page, we should see that we have this little create button here as well. So if you click on that, you should get a little list of the different kinds of data resources you can make. And so I can sort of run through these just a little bit. So these GraphQL, this allows you to use GraphQL queries against the ServiceNow API. So this lets you write or I believe query using that GraphQL API. Transform. So transform is really going to most likely be the data resource that would best fit your use case. It's in most cases usually what you're going to want. This essentially just lets you run any ServiceNow server-side JavaScript. So you can run script includes, do a glide record if you want, whatever, and then just return it. The composite, so this is actually like a combination of multiple data resources essentially chained together. So the idea being that you'd have one run and then its output would then be used as the input for the next data resource. Generally, this would be used to say, get the output from one data resource and then have the second data resource maybe like sort of transform that to maybe make it a more usable output, format it so that you can use it for maybe a specific component. The REST just allows you to execute a REST request against any of the ServiceNow REST endpoints. So in this case, you need to specify the endpoint, give it some query parameters, and then also a request body. And then it will provide whatever output that the REST API call would provide. The scriptlet here is normally what you would actually see in these composites. So a lot of the time the scriptlets is going to be that like secondary data resource that you would use to transform or mutate the output that you're getting from another data resource. It's essentially just a small vanilla client-side JavaScript. And again, I believe the point of this is that it runs just a little bit faster on its own, but in most cases, I don't think it's too relevant for our use cases. And then controller here. So controllers are pretty complex. In most cases, you'll see these out of the box in the out of the box record pages within the workspace. These are really used to handle everything around those forms. So they pull in the data for the form. They save any data, any updates that you make. They also handle like any of the UI actions or UI policies, as well as even view rules. So they're pretty strong. You'll see them again, like I said, in most record pages. But really, what we're gonna use here, and what you're probably gonna will cover most any use case you have is going to be this transform. So we'll go ahead and click on that. It should open up a new window here. We should see we get this data broker server script table. So just to note, those data broker. So data broker is essentially the same thing as a data resource. I believe data broker was just older language that's more so recently been replaced with data resource, but they're essentially synonymous. So if you see data broker, it really means data resource and vice versa. But yeah, so we'll run through the form here. So we have our name. So we'll just give this something pretty basic like test transform data resource. If I can type, there we go. And then we have a few options here. So we have mutate server data. This is just indicating whether or not this is, well, a data resource that mutates server data, meaning it either creates or updates records. Important to note, because if you remember from our last video, any data resource that mutates server data must be called through a script or an event. They cannot run immediately, and you must provide the inputs for them when you call them through that event or that script. We'll just leave this blank for now. Private, this is essentially just indicating whether or not it is private. If it is private, then it will not be selectable in the workspace. You won't see it in that list of data resources. So we'll go ahead and leave that blank for now as well. We'll give this like a pretty basic description, just that. And then we get to properties. So properties are essentially the different values that you can feed into your data resource. If you remember when we were filling out our look up a single record data resource, we had a few different fields there, the table, the sysid or the record, and the columns. All of those were properties that would have been created here. So this is where you create those if you need any inputs for your data resource. So I have these here, so I'll just go ahead and throw these in and run through these. So the name is going to be how you would refer to this bit of data in our script. The label is just going to be what we see in the workspace as we're adding the data resource. Description will be, again, just seen as we're adding the data resource in. It's just there to describe what the field is for, what the data does, why you need it, whatever sort of description you want to add there. Read only is just to indicate whether or not the field is read only. The field type is, of course, what type you want it to be. We're just going to leave these both as strings. Mandatory indicates whether or not the field is mandatory when configuring it, when configuring the data resource. And the default value is if you'd like any sort of default value to be selected in the box off the bat. And we'll just go ahead and leave that blank for both of these as well. So then in order to go ahead and actually create a script here, you'll want to create a function. I do have a script here that I'll copy and paste. So this is a pretty simple one. So you'll always want to have a function here in your script. You'll be this function with a name of transform and an input of input. This input is what will hold the data that gets input through our properties. And so this is just a pretty simple script that I have here. It's essentially just going to look up a record on a table based on the inputs we provide, the table name and the sysid. And then if that record exists, it will return back a message saying record plus number exists. And if it doesn't, then it'll just come back saying this record does not exist. So pretty simple. Go ahead and save that. Perfect. And now if we go back to our workspace, you should see it just right here. If we click into it, we can see there we have our configurations and our little description appears right there. We'll go ahead and add this into the page, and then we'll be able to go ahead and configure it just like any other data resource. So we'll just go pretty simple here. We'll go with incident, and we'll just grab a sysid here. Throw that in there. And you might notice here, so on other, before we were working with these data resources, we could get this like sort of automatic preview here. We aren't at the moment, and we can see that's because the ACL did not allow execution. So for any data resources that you create, you do also need to add or associate a ACL with that data resource. It doesn't really matter what the access is, how basic it is that you're pulling. Every single data resource needs to have an ACL. So we'll just go ahead and create an ACL real quick. We can click this little link and it'll pull up all of our data broker ACLs. Go ahead and get rid of the type here, and then we'll want to go ahead and create a new one. So we will have to elevate our role to security admin. And then we'll go ahead and click new. So when we create our ACL, we'll always want to set the type to UX data broker. And then the name here is going to be the sysid of the data resource. So we'll go ahead and just copy our sysid here, paste that in there, and then we just need to add a role. It doesn't really matter what we add here. This is going to be based on whatever access it needs. I'm just going to throw in ITIL. It shouldn't really matter though. I've seen like SNC internal, stuff like that works. Just whatever you need to add as your ACL. We'll go ahead and save it. That's looking good to me. So we'll go ahead and unelevate. And then if we come back here, Perfect. So we should see, yeah, our data resource is now giving us an output, meaning that our ACL is working. And so we can also see here too. So we're getting, yeah, record INC, 9003 exists. But if we were to take away like one of the sysid things or one of the numbers from the sysid, we should see now we're getting this record does not exist. So it does look like our script is functioning and providing us with the expected outputs. So if we go ahead and close that, then we can now bind this to any of our components, just how we could any other data resource. So we'll come here, go to our test transfer data, our test transform data resource here, go to our output and apply. And now we can see it's right there. And if we save and reload our form, we should see it pop up there as well. Yep. Awesome. So yeah, again, these are pretty powerful. Again, this was a pretty basic use case, but again, these are very useful for if you need to have like a script include that needs to run, or a very specific script that you want to run. Maybe again, the out of the box data resources don't fit your use case. So in this case, you'd probably just want to create a new transform data resource. But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover here. Thank you.